Welcome back to Flemington, and there I was waxing lyrical about all the people coming in on Oaks Day, and you couldn't really see them, but now you can. Behind me, and a crowd of 50 or 60,000, not beyond the realms of possibility. Listen, thanks very much for calling for our fashion competition. Apparently we've taken over 35,000 calls already over the carnival, and here's another chance for you to get involved just by dialing a telephone number.
You can be a winner in our Oaks Day fashion competition just by calling 0055 606 58 if you know the right answer to this question. Which day of the carnival is considered to be the elegant fashion day for ladies? Is it A, Oaks Day, or B, Melbourne Cup Day? 2 winners will be chosen from callers with the correct answers, and they will each receive a great prize of $1,000 in fashions from Suzanne's. So ring 0055 606 58 and you can call right up until 4 o'clock Eastern Summer Time. Winners will be announced after race 7 today.
Yes, there'll be 2 of them, and all the best to all of you. You know, in Australia, we are very rightly proud of the international reputation of our jockeys, and one man in particular is really responsible for all of that. And these days, quite rightly, he's regarded as the old man of the turf.
When a discussion surrounds Australia's legends of the saddle, this man walks just a little bit taller than the others.
Well, someone said that the other day. When was I going to... thought I was going to become a jockey. I said when I was born. I was never going to be anything else, really. My brother before me was a jockey, successful jockey. He rode around Wagga and around the country, you know.
His real name is Arthur Breasley, but everyone knows him as Scobie.
Well, when I was a young boy going to school, there was a great trainer in Melbourne here named James Scobie, and he was winning all the derbies, Melbourne Cups and so on. And a friend of my father had trotters. His friend was always around at the stable, and he, for some reason, he nicknamed me Scobie because James Scobie was winning all these big races. And I had it going to school, and it stuck to me ever since.
Born in Wagga Wagga 82 years ago, Scobie not only carved his name in Australian folklore, he rode for 2 decades in England and achieved all a jockey could achieve. He's best known here for his 5 Caulfield Cup victories, including 4 in a row between 1942 and 1945. But it was in England, at an age where many riders have already retired, that he hit his peak, winning more than 2,000 races, 4 English riding premierships, and twice taking the classic of all classics, the English Derby at Epsom. Remarkably, the race he never had much luck in was the Melbourne Cup.
First I got Shadow King back in 1933, he beaten ahead. And he was very, very unlucky. Should have won easily. As I would have been lovely to have won everything else in Australia, and I would have loved to have won the Melbourne Cup. But at least a great friend of mine years ago, when I first went to England, Ray Johnson, and I was telling him how disappointed I was in not winning a Melbourne Cup. And he said, Scobie, winning an English Derby is like winning 7 or 8 Melbourne Cups. So luckily enough, I did achieve a couple of derbies.
Scobie's first win in the Epsom Derby was in 1964 on Santa Claus, and he followed up 2 years later on Charlottetown.
To win it, it was the greatest thrill I've had riding and in racing. But as I say, I was 50s and the grandfather, so I won it again when I was 52. But the first one was the greatest thrill I've had in racing. As I said, he was my Santa Claus.
Yes, he's absolutely wonderful. And this is the scene out here, and this is how people come to the races, to Oaks Day, Cup Day or Derby Day. Set up a little table, a little blankie, the obligatory esky, of course, and basically have a fantastic time. Look at that. Oaks Day here at Flemington. We'll take a break with more of Milton's tips on how to back a winner.
Leo, you may hit the big time today and cause the tab to tumble. Be gusto with your bets. Horses with names suggesting heroes, royalty and timber are yours, and best colours green, white stripes and a quartered cap. Lucky numbers 1, 4 and 7. Virgo, keep an eye on the second and third favourites today. You'll have your bets in the bag if you follow horses with names suggesting fashion, travel and cosmetics. Best colours, all pastel shades, blue sleeves and checks. Lucky numbers 3, 8 and 9. Libra, blow the cobwebs away, kick up your heels, you're in for a lucky day. And look for horses with names suggesting theatre, charm and big noters. Best colours, gold, green and a red cap. Lucky numbers 3, 4 and 5. Scorpio, keep a few dollars for doubles and trifectas. Multiple wagers are your best bet. Back horses with names suggesting advertising, danger and gambling. Best colours, blue stripes or sleeves and a black cap. Lucky numbers 1, 3 and 8.
Welcome back to Flemington. No, that's okay. You just keep talking. You totally ignore me. These guys are having a fabulous start. Bit of rosé with a little strawberry in it. And this is one of the favourite places here too amongst the roses. Absolutely beautiful it is. Linny Talbot's out there somewhere too with our current Miss Australia, Suzanne Hayward.
Indeed, we are here, and what a fantastic day it is out here in the members' stand. Now, there are a lot of high rollers and high flyers that come to Flemington during the Spring Racing Carnival, including countesses and sheiks, but no one can claim the title of Miss Australia other than Susan Howard. Congratulations. I know you've had it for a while now, but it is a terrific thing to have.
It is. Thank you, Lynn, very much.
And you're a newcomer to Flemington, second day here.
Yes, this is my first Melbourne Cup Racing Carnival, and I was a guest of the committee on Melbourne Cup Day and judging fashions on the field today at Oaks Day.
Terrific. The relationship between Miss Australia and the VRC goes way back, doesn't it?
It certainly does, with the Spastic Society Victoria and the Miss Victoria Awards over nearly 40 years worth of history. Miss Australia has been a guest here.
Now, tell me, exactly what does being Miss Australia involve?
A lot of hard work, but Miss Australia is the National Public Relations spokesperson for the Miss Australia Awards, which fundraises for the spastic societies in Australia.
And I believe you're aiming at $7 million this year. That's terrific. And thanks for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of Oaks Day.
I will.
Tim, back to you.
Thanks, Linny. This is just a great place. This place these folks have picked. There's about 5 families in here. They can see the horses thundering down the straight there, and they're just having an absolutely fantastic start to Oaks Day. Well, now, I'm told that Tim Bailey is feeling poetic. Now, he would have absolutely no idea, which must mean he's got a poet with him.
My job, Timmy, is to farm the colour and the character of this great Cup Carnival. I've got a sports poet with me now. His name is Rupert McCall, and it's a great extract about a great horse called Superimposed.
The underdog barked on that October day, though Rascals knew he was great. The question that floated on most people's lips was whether he'd carry the weight. 61 kilograms lumped on his back. His heart carried most, I suppose. That was the way that it was with this horse. You'd expect it from Superimposed. Well, I couldn't hold back. I shouted to Beedman to hurry and hook the horse wide, but wisely ignoring my desperate plea, he switched for a passage inside. Then, like scissors through paper, they cut through the pack and rapidly started to close. The boy aboard steered and the racing world cheered for the fast-flying Superimposed. Now, history will show he was first past the post. Praise aplenty was spoken. 2 Epsoms, 2 Doncasters under his belt. All of the records are broken. But one thing that stirred my emotion that day, it's the factor that no record shows. The spirit and courage that beats in the heart of the champion, Superimposed.
The sports poet who gave it his all. Ladies and gentlemen, thank Rupert McCall. Tim.
Thank you, Timothy. Yes, if you watch sports tonight a lot, and I sincerely hope you do, you'll see a lot of Rupert McCall. He's just terrific. We'll take Milton Black's last tips for the horses via the horoscope as we take a break.
Sagittarius, it's a fun day in store with lots of surprises and a big win when you least expect it. Follow horses with names suggesting computers, quickness and coastal. Best colours, sea green, gold sleeves, red armband and lucky numbers 2, 5 and 7. Capricorn, you're certainly no goat when it comes to picking a winner today. Stick to your first and second favourites. Follow horses with names suggesting space, maturity and expense, and best colours grey, pink and white sleeves. Lucky numbers 3, 6 and 7. Aquarius, beat the bookies at their own game, go for the third favourites and back horses with names suggesting elegance, seasons and imports. Best colours blue, white and spotted cap. Lucky numbers 4, 6 and 9. Pisces, tap dance to the tab today. You're in fine form for picking a winner or two. Pick horses with names suggesting sailing, faraway places and parties. Best colours, turquoise, yellow or gold hoops, yellow cap, and lucky numbers 2, 3 and 5. Now the best double-digit numbers today are 10 and 17.
Look, it's absolutely glorious here today. As Peter Donegan said earlier, a much more relaxed atmosphere on VRC Oaks Day. You can see the horses there on their way in for the first event of the day at 12:05, and that's the Neat and Trim Stakes. Now, for punters, a change. Darren Beedman is replacing Darren Gauci on number 1, Absurd. Just repeating that for you, Darren Beedman replacing Darren Gauci on number 1, Absurd in the first. And you certainly don't lose anything by that. And that's the flavour of the day. I've just been outside, but my producer, because he's a hard man, made me come back in here. But of course, one of the talking points of the carnival this year is the magnificent shot we're getting from the Whitman's Lightship. You've seen the shot all throughout the carnival, so we thought we'd show you this magnificent craft that's providing the pictures.
And this great race has begun.
The Whitman's Lightship has certainly given our viewers a sensational bird's-eye view of horse racing. On the front of the Lightship is the Wescam, housed inside this ball that remains steady despite the Lightship's movements. The actual camera system is operated inside the cockpit via these remote controls.
The ball itself is a 3-axis stabilised camera system, which basically means it'll stay level regardless of any 3 axes of movements of the airship, either pitch, roll or yaw. It has a very powerful zoom lens, which enables us to go very tight into a green, as you can see here, and we can focus, we can control the iris of the camera, and we can control where the camera points.
The pictures are microwave linked back to 10's outside broadcast van for live insertion into the telecast. Englishman Matthew Allwork, some say all work and no play, is from Aerial Camera Systems, and he travels the world providing the breathtaking angles.
It's brilliant. It's as I said, it's a hobby. It's every day you get up, you get some bad days, of course, but we have a lot more good days. And being able to be here in Australia for an event like the Melbourne Cup and then out to the Olympics for the Centennial Olympic Games, it's wonderful.
On the ground at Flemington is the Trackstar, another version of the Wescam, which sits in this tracking vehicle travelling inside the racetrack at the same speed as the horses. Matthew can control all the camera's operations from the passenger seat.
We were able to show that each horse pan through the field and give very dynamic shots alongside the horses to bring the feeling of speed and show the aesthetics of the horse as it runs, which you don't see from a lot of the cameras around the ground and around the course, to the people at home.
No offence to our cameramen, but this is what you'd see using a normal television camera. With the gyro mounts and years of development, you have the best seat in the house. While the camera operators have all the controls at their fingertips, the pilot or driver is just as important in the quality of the picture.
He's done a fantastic job, and we've been right next to the horses, as you've seen, and able to bring those dynamic shots. It is very much a team effort.
Thanks to Matthew Allwork and his aerial camera systems, we've been able to give you a new insight in Australian horse racing. And by the way, the jockeys aren't bad either.
Yes, indeed, and of course it's all designed so that we can bring you at home the best possible pictures of the racing that we can. And there it is. There's the Lightship, and you'll see a lot more pictures throughout the day from the Lightship. Hope you're enjoying our very relaxed and very peaceful morning here. How about a little musical interlude for Oaks Morning?
And I wish that I could have just one more chance, and I wish that I could be your pillar of strength, and I pray that you'll see that what I'm saying is true. I wish for you.
Well, Tim, what a treat. We've just been listening to the vocal group Human Nature, one of Australia's leading vocal groups. Guys, Andrew, Phil, Mike and Toby.
Well done.
Welcome to Oaks Day. Yes, it was hard to remember. You enjoying the day so far?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Great weather.
Awesome weather. Okay, now that was the song Wishes off your debut album, which is released at the end of the month?
Yeah, it's called Telling Everybody.
Telling Everybody. Okay, now you've been together, you all met at high school, and you've been together?
We've been together about 7 years now, and Wishes is the third single we've released, and it's all very exciting for us. We're having a fantastic time.
Okay, now things are going very well for you. I know your record sales are going well overseas as well as here in Australia, but some sensational news this week. You've just found out they're going to be the support act for Michael Jackson. That must be a dream come true.
Oh yeah, we're loving that. That's just going to be huge. We get to play to about 500,000 people in 2 weeks, so we're just going to love it. Doesn't get much better.
And Michael's been a bit of a hero, I understand, for a long time?
Yeah, he's always been an influence of our music, somebody that we've always looked up to. He's a musical genius, so it's very exciting.
All right, we're thrilled that you could join us today. We hope you have a wonderful Oaks Day. But just to help you get into the swing of things, we've got some Cadbury chocolates for all the ladies in your life. So,
thank you very much.
So please enjoy. And Tim, I'm just going to stay and talk to these fellas, and hopefully, you never know, I might get a serenade.
I'd say it's a pretty fair chance, Sandy, yes. Thank you and your Human Nature, and it's time to go racing. And here again are Peter Donegan and Jenny Chapman.
Thank you very much, Tim, and what a terrific scene we have in the mounting yard here. This is just a perfect day for Oaks Day, Jen.
It really is, Pete, and the crowd is really filing in very strongly now, and I've got to say the weather, the breeze seems to have slowed down a little bit, and the sun's out. It really is perfect weather for the day.
Scratching from the first is number 12, Lady of the Pines. We have a field of 19, and as Tim has mentioned, there's a riding change on the top one here, Absurd. Darren Beatman takes the ride, replacing Darren Gauci, who was a late arrival, and this one, trained by John Hawkes, has had the 2 starts, so it's got experience on most of the field.
Experience, and both of those starts have been quite okay. She did get back and ran on quite strongly at Randwick at her first start, and then she also got back at Caulfield and got a good run through and ran on okay. With that experience, she's well drawn. I think the outside's definitely going to be a lot better here down the straight, so I think she's there with some chance in the race.
There's not much of number 2, Won't Tell, a flashy chestnut, ridden by Greg Hall for Lee Friedman, has had the 1 start and wasn't bad at Caulfield, went 4th to Export Gold.
Not bad, but there's a little thing about this horse, whether or not she wasn't comfortable on the inside, Pete, on the fence. She did tend to want to get her head up a little bit, which is always a sign I don't like in a racehorse. I think she's a nice enough type, but as you said, there's not that much of her. I'd leave her there with the place chance.
Speaking of good types and suitable draws here, number 3, Aphrodite, to be ridden by David Taggart, drawn out in Barrier 19, having its first start, won here by Umatilla.
I'd say looking at some of these, Pete, she's definitely one of the better types in the race. She's a half-sister to a pretty smart horse in Spanish Minx, and drawn nicely in Barrier 19 here. On looks, she looks pretty fit. I'd say she's there with a chance.
Another first starter is number 4, Aubrey, and it's drawn towards the outside too. Therese Payne takes the ride for Steve McKinnon.
Well, she's a half-sister to a Zeta, a very speedy horse. This horse also looks quite fit in the mounting yard, and I'd say she looks rather relaxed as well. So I'm leaving her there with a rough place chance in the race.
Cornwall Queen, number 7, has been to the races a couple of times, carries the famous Triscothic colours, and it's to be ridden by Gavin Eads.
Well, her debut was down the straight here at Flemington, and it was a pretty good effort there. She ran 3rd. Then she was extremely wide at Caulfield at her next start. I thought it was a good run there, and she does look a little bit of value in this race.
Another of the first starters is number 8, Days of Grace, which will carry the contract racing colours, very famous colours, and Days of Grace, number 8, to be ridden by Brent Stanley, the apprentice, also having her first start as we look there at Cornwall Queen, number 7, going out, and we'll take a look at number 8 behind her, Days of Grace.
Well, Days of Grace is quite a nice strong type. I had a glimpse of her as she walked around the mounting yard here, trained at the track, which is always quite important for some of these young 2-year-olds. I think she's probably left there with a place chance. Of course, we haven't seen her in any trials.
All right, and we'll take a glimpse at her when we can find her. Number 10 is God's Waki. I thought it was a terrific run at Caulfield, Jen, at its first start. Only finished 6th, but was second last and hopeless on the turn and flashed home.
She doesn't appear to possess all that much early speed in her races, but as you said, Pete, she did run on very strongly at her debut. Drawn nicely in Barrier 20, and if she can have some natural improvement from that first up run, I think she's going to be there with a very good chance.
And what about Damien Oliver's mount here, Regencia, another one of Lee Friedman's? Finished in the middle of the field at its only start at Caulfield, but there might have been excuses that day.
Yes, she was wide on that occasion and had to work quite hard. I thought it was an honest battling effort there. There's plenty of money for her to suggest that she will go quite well here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her improve.
OK, Jennifer. Jennifer, sum it up on race number 1 on the card, the Neat and Trim Stakes.
Well, in race 1, I'm going with number 7 here, Cornwall Queen, at fairly nice odds from number 1, Absurd, and number 10, God's Walkie.
There's the map for race 1, 1,000 metres, and as we suggested, probably the outside still quicker. It's been that way on Derby Day, it's been that way on Cup Day, and probably will be the same here on Oaks Day. Cornwall Queen for Jenny Chapman, God's Walkie for myself, Cannon Song for Johnny Letts, and Regencia for Richard Friedman here in race 1. We'll take a break and be back with the first of 8 races on a delightful day at Flemington, Crown VRC Oaks Day. To Flemington on the 3rd day of the Carnival, Crown VRC Oaks Day, a magnificent day, absolutely tailor-made for racing. And of course, the tote figures and the bookmakers' figures will be all important. We're going to have a look at the tote figures shortly to Tim Gossage, but here's Dan Mielicki first of all.
Absurd, the tote favourite, $3.20 with Darren Beedman to ride. Won't Tell at $15, or just under that mark. Cornwall Queen well in the market at $9.80. Days of Grace, trained by Jim Mason, the Caulfield Cup winning trainer, at big odds though. His filly, Fiesta's at $13.10. God's Wakey, $8.10 as well in the market. So is Regencia, horse number 14, at $4.30. And big odds some of the other horses, and we're down to Ballavinda Western Reality. Traditionally, this is a race that does produce a long shot winner. Bright Light was backed off the map last year from about 50 to 1 into 12 to 1. And a couple of years ago, we had a horse called Saloon Rule in this race at about 180 to 1. So don't get put off by the big prices, hey, Pete.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Dan. And as we take a look at these runners behind the gates, and there is Absurd, we'll continue to look at them as Tim Gossage gives us an update on what the bookmakers have been making of race 1. Tim?
Thanks very much, Peter. Yes, well, each way odds Absurd in the first race. It now has halved its quote, and some places a lot less. Big money for Absurd to win this race, even though there's been a late jockey change. No money for God's Walkie. Some specking for Cornwall Queen, and Regencia eased after early support. The big money's for the top weight, Absurd.
OK, Tim Gossage will be reporting from the betting ring all day, and I'm delighted to say on this magnificent day, Oaks Day, that Roy Higgins, a gentleman who had a lot of success in Oaks Stakes with the 3-year-old fillies, and the first one was, I think, your favourite, wasn't it, Roy, Light Fingers?
Yes, back in Light Fingers Day, 1965. As you say, we had a lot of fun with the females in the thoroughbred. So I got 1-5 Oaks. This is a wonderful day to. But all we've got to do is now try and find a winner for the people at home. Of the ones we know, there is a lot of unexposed form here, the young horses. The 2 that raced at Caulfield in number 14, Regencia, and 1, Absurd. Now, both of these have done excellent. They both look terrific. Of the others, 10, God's Wacky, and the 11, the first starter here, and It's a Giggle. Not a bad type, that one. I marked them 14, 1, 10 and 11 for race 1 on the program. Good luck, Pete.
Thanks, Roy. Roy Higgins, courtesy of Sport 927, will be joining us right throughout the day with his thoughts on the appearance of the runners. Gavin Eads takes the ride here aboard Cornwall Queen, one that's had a bit of experience, has had the 2 starts, and Ted Ryan spoke to him before he went up to the gates for race 1.
Run previous to that up the straight at Flemington was a good run. Has had a few little minor setbacks in the meantime, but she should have quit us off pretty well. From barrier 14, we should get across, get somewhere near the outside rail. That's the only place to be.
Gavin Eads with his thoughts prior to running in the first aboard Cornwall Queen here in race 1. Magnificent scene from the Whitman's lightship, and there's the scene from down on the ground. And as the babies are loaded up into the gates for the first, again up to the commentary box and Dan Mielicki and Gary Willis.
Thank you, Peter. Some outstanding looking fillies. Absurd, heavily backed. It is clearly the favourite on track, Gary. There's a lot that I know took both our eye, but you were full of praise for a number of them.
Yes, well, I definitely like number 5, Cannon Song. It's by Rory's Jester, trained by Peter Hayes, but gee, it's good odds. It's about 30 to 1, I think. And the other one I like the look of was Cornwall Queen, one ridden by Gavin Eads.
I noticed a lot of the horses that are drawn on the inside section of the track have drifted noticeably on course today. Are they going a bit over the top, do you think?
I think so. Look, it wouldn't surprise me to see if you've got speed on the inside and you're prepared to take the risk, I'd be inclined to come up the inside today. Like, you've got a headwind, I think you'll need a bit of cover. There's Absurd going in. He's a beautiful-looking youngster.
Aubrey, John Hawkes. Riderless at the moment is the Steve McKinnon-trained Aubrey.
This track has dried out, you know, remarkably well, and the outside, if you can get right to the outside rail, that's definitely the fastest part of the track, but they all can't get there. But with the T-rolls, it's a bit difficult to get them to the outside because most of the jockeys here ride with the stick in the right hand. When they're under a bit of pressure, they're inclined to shift in. So if you've got a bit of speed on the inside with you and you can get something to come up with you, I'd be game enough to do it.
Might be able to explain this scenario. There are 2 horses riderless, one's Aphrodite going in. Some of the horses that have gone in early in this big field, is it hard for them to be in there a long time? Some of them are having their first start.
Yes, it is, Dan. It makes a big difference. It's often if you can draw out and you're one of the last ones to come in, I think it's a decided advantage. But they've all moved up. They're all pretty well behaved, these youngsters. Well, there's one. I shouldn't have said that.
God's Wakey going up. Field of 19. The neat and trim stakes for the 2-year-old fillies. Absurd running the favourite. Albury goes into the gates. A jockey back in the saddle. Now they're all locked away. We wait on the light. Now there's one Cornwall Queen, I think it is, going off at about barrier 13. Yep. Tennant's in with her.
See, that's she set them all off.
Now one's gone off. One's got underneath the gates. It's got trapped and it's just going to get out the back there.
Dan, this is when you were saying about them being in there a long time. Unfortunately, with the T-rolls, they get a bit stirry and one goes off and it'll set the others off.
Now, I'm just trying to work out which horse it was. I think, I'm not 100% sure it was It's a Giggle, but it's about that barrier, Gary.
Yes. There's a great shot from the eye in the sky here. It's incredible. And then the boys been hurt here.
I just can't pick it up, unfortunately. I've got an obscured picture, and we're attempting to find out which horse it is.
I just can't see the number cloth either on this horse. The wind's just blowing it.
It is It's a Giggle. And Cornwall Queen was the first to go off, but it seemed to set off a chain reaction, didn't it?
This is young Brett Preble. Yes, it definitely did. I hope he's all right because he's had 2 good days. He's ridden a winner on both the days, and this is the luck of racing.
Here we go, arrowed here, barrier 11. It is It's a Giggle. You can see Cornwall Queen 2 from it playing up, and then it goes up in the air and just flips all the way over. It flipped all the way out the back. It's got caught on the back of the barrier. Gee, that's a dangerous situation to be in for everybody, isn't it?
It's terrible for a jockey because if you go over the back and your feet get caught in the irons, you get hooked up there and, you know, poor Brett, he's conscious here, but he could have most probably hurt an arm or a leg, or you get crushed on the back of the gates.
It'll be scratched, this horse. It's a Giggle. The warning siren has sounded.
I just hope Brett is all right because he's you know, a great young rider, and John Maher's got a few good runners today and he'd be on them.
Officially scratched at 12.08 on vet's advice is It's a Giggle. So, but it's no laughing matter at the moment for Brett Preble. Away they go now. They're racing in the first event on Oaks Day, and a lot of these youngsters are going to go straight to the outside fence, but there's quite a few of them that are going to stay down on the flat side, including Won't Tell. Bellavinda was up there in the early part, Chorus Song, and then came Western Reality, and just in behind those was Roman History, there on the flat side of the track, and also Redetta was there, whereas down the grandstand side, Regencia is the leader from Albury, and Cornwall Queen is up into about 3rd spot, followed by Never Blush. Absurd's about 5 lengths off the speed with God's Wakey, Brilliant Vixen, and then Fiesta's Days of Grace. Chorus Dancer well back in the field as they run down to the 400. Regencia hard up against the rail, being joined by Cornwall Queen. In behind them, Albury running a race, and then God's Wakey. Absurd struggling on the flat side though. Chorus Song took the lead. I tell you what, the flat side are well in it today. It's Chorus Song in front, God's Wakey out wide. Chorus Song the leader on the flat side. God's Wakey after it. Chorus Song is the leader though. This is a turnabout. Chorus Song wins. Chorus Song, I think, from God's Wakey and Won't Tell. Then came Western Reality, Albury next in, and then came Cornwall Queen. Further back then to behind those Bellavinda from Redetta. Further back to Roman History. Well back in the field would have been Absurd. Didn't do a lot from Fiestas. Then came Chorus Dancer. Further back then to well back in the field would have been Regencia, pulling up with Days of Grace, and then came towards the tail end Aphrodite, pulling up with Rich Counter, and also Brilliant Vixen, and Cannon Song has got the money, number 5, on the flat side of the track.
Yes, well, that was the one that really took my eye, and you know, I said before when we walked the track, I wouldn't be, you know, if I was a jockey, I'd take the punt and come up the inside. And, well, I don't be put off if a horse draws in or out today because there's not a lot of difference. But this youngster, boy, gee, it took my eye when they're going out. Magnificent looking filly.
5-10 and 2 Won't Tell is third. 5-10, 2 Cannon. So I think I might have called a chorus song at one stage there at big odds, but it was the one you pointed out, and I thought they were probably in front the inside at about the 300-metre point, but it's still difficult to get a guide, but it was